Hello everyone, and good afternoon to you in Strasbourg. This is Zach Malchano. I wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to present on a fun and exciting topic, and I'm looking forward to walking you through brainstorming and early prototyping. I do medical product development in the Bay Area. I was a biodesign fellow with Dr. James Wall, who I believe you know, and let's get started. I wanted to first put the topic in the context of the biodesign innovation process that I know that you're all learning about. There are many steps to the process, and this is kind of a key area which we'll be talking about in terms of generating new ideas and generating new intellectual property for any kind of needs that have made it through your screening process. This is the kind of a middle step in the process out of the brainstorming, and there'll be many brainstorms, not just one. You'll then look towards evaluating the concepts that emerge and moving those forward into new ventures and new products. Our agenda for today is to cover brainstorming. What is a brainstorm? Why do you do brainstorms? And how to facilitate good and productive brainstorms. We'll be following that with a discussion of prototyping. Why do you need to prototype? How to prototype if you don't have, maybe a background in mechanical engineering or access to machine shop or other kind of facilities. And then I'll be walking through an example of the early stage work at Insight Medical, which is a company that James, myself, and our other fellow teammates during the Biodesign Innovation Fellowship started. So what is a brainstorm? I think this is a pretty evocative image of that. I like to start on slide 5 with this quote by Linus Pauling. If you want to have good ideas, you must have many ideas. And as you might imagine, the bottom line there is that the quantity is the first kind of consideration in getting high quality ideas. You go for a lot of ideas, and many of them will be useless or not very productive. However, out of many of those ideas, one or two will be very, very interesting, and that's the kind of the underlying idea behind brainstorms, is that you will generate a ton of ideas. Many of them you will eliminate or disregard, but a few might be worth developing, and it may take more than one brainstorming session. It may take different people and different interactions. So, the definition of a brainstorm is really, it's a spontaneous discussion among a group of people to produce ideas and processes for solving problems. So this is straight kind of from the dictionary definition, but I think it's succinct and very useful. It's the group is key, and the focus on ideas, not really kind of putting a qualifier on how good the ideas are, or how they're invented. It's really just coming up with ideas. So why do we brainstorm? It's really, as we were starting to discuss, a key to innovation. You've identified needs and potential markets, and now we really need to think about how we might address those unmet needs. It's typically, you might not be the first person to identify those needs, but the differentiator between creating a new company and not in a space may be that you're the first one via brainstorming and prototyping to actually create a viable new technological solution or innovative solution. So maybe it's taking a technology that's commonly used in a different field and applying it to a specific need in a different field. So that's one of the main drivers. It's really quite a fun process. It's very creative. You're working with other people. It's energetic, and it's just it's sort of your time to just kind of think broadly, throw wild ideas out there, and just not worry about it. the screening comes later on brainstorming, and so it's really just about, trying to think, take all of your experiences and, think about them, and then try to forget all of your experiences and try to think about it from a completely different direction. We'll get into kind of more details on how you facilitate a really productive brainstorm, but it should be thought of as kind of a fun and exciting experience. And then really, towards the bottom of this and the diagram on this page is that, the product is greater than the sum of the parts, and that speaks to, the dynamic among many people. And so when you're in a brainstorm, it's, the others there can kind of spark a new idea in your own brain, or you may see something on someone else's idea and you're able to extend it and make it more real or viable. And so really that is, a key element is the kind of spontaneity of the group and that dynamic. You don't know where the good ideas are going to come from. You don't, it's not going to be one person, and it's really just, trying to draw on all sorts of inspiration, trying to facilitate just a very kind of broad experience, and really just trying to go for broke, not hesitate, say ideas to get them off, just to say that even if it's a bad idea, just say it so you don't have to be thinking about it anymore and move on. So that's sort of why we brainstorm, and what are some of the things to expect around a brainstorm. Thinking about brainstorming, it really isn't, we all just walk into a room with a whiteboard or a chalkboard, and we don't just start, kind of talking and drawing. Really, there's a process that you can prepare for a brainstorm, and it's pretty important to really facilitate a high output brainstorm. You can always kind of get several ideas from just gathering a couple people up and kind of talking to them about a problem, but to really get like a very productive brainstorming session, everyone involved needs to be prepared. And so whoever's going to be facilitating the brainstorm really needs to think about forming a kind of problem statement, and it really should be pretty focused, and that being said, focus doesn't mean defining solutions. It means it should be focused on and carefully worded to try to to position it in line with the needs that's been specified. So I put a simple example here to the right. How might we monitor healing of diabetic foot ulcers in the home? So I'm not saying how we need to monitor that, but I am defining what we're monitoring and where we're monitoring it. And so the other items are sort of left open, and those are the creative directions we can go. And there may be crossover of some of the ideas into other fields of home monitoring, which would be interesting for a company to keep track of, but it may not be the initial focus.